The Greeks could not take Troy. 10 years, the greatest warriors of the age battered against those walls, and the walls held. Then one man had an idea. Not a better sword. A horse. Hollow. Filled with soldiers. A gift that was a trap. Troy fell in a single night. The man who thought of it, Homer gives him one word, the very first word of the poem that bears his name. Polytropus, the man of many turns, the man of twists, the man who can wear any face and find any angle. He did not win by being the strongest. He won by being harder to predict than anyone alive. Here is what makes Odysseus strange among heroes. The others are exactly what they appear to be. Achilles is rage given a body. Ajax is the wall that does not move. What you see is what they are. But Odysseus is never what he appears to be. He lies the way other men breathe. He puts on identities like cloaks, the beggar, the merchant, the nameless guest, and he takes them off the moment they have served their purpose. His honor is real, but he wields it. For Odysseus, honor is one more tool in the kit, lying right beside the ambush and the long, patient wait. And there is a pattern to him. You can see it in every story they tell. He arrives concealed. He holds the disguise under provocation that would break another man. Insult, threat, violence done right in front of him. And he does not flinch. He does not reveal himself. He does not strike. And then, at the exact moment he chooses, the mask comes off, and the force it was holding back comes off with it. The cunning sets up the violence, and the violence is only possible because of the cunning. That is Polytropus, not the absence of the beast on a leash, held by a very patient hand. Alexander the Great is often cited as an example of what can happen when the beast has no leash, or slips it. A volcanic fire that burned the barriers Alexander's tutor Aristotle helped construct to contain it. Alexander charged the whole world without an endgame or an after-action plan. Same hunger, no destination. Dead at 32, his empire in pieces before his body was cold. The fire with nothing to point at burns the man who carries it. But there is another way to have no destination. Quieter, more survivable, far more common. You do not need a world conqueror to see it. You need a sellsword. In the world of Game of Thrones, there is a man named Bronn. He is not a lord. He is not a knight. He was born with nothing, and he has survived absolutely everything. And he has done it the way Odysseus would respect. With his wits, with his blade, and with a cold, clear, unsentimental eye for exactly what a situation requires. Bronn is good, genuinely good. Watch him read a room. Who holds the power? Who is bluffing? Where the exit is? What a man will pay and what he will only promise. He is almost never the strongest man in the scene, yet he almost always walks out of it. He fights a duel to the death for a man he barely knows, because the math works out. He befriends a clever outcast, and the friendship is real, right up to the line where loyalty would cost him his life. And at that line, he says so, out loud, without shame. I like you. I'm just not going to die for you. There is no lie in Bronn about who Bronn is. He works the angles. He takes the payment. He stays alive. In a world that devours the naive and the loyal and the proud, Bronn endures. The story frames him to earn admiration, and it works. He has the same kit Odysseus has. The cunning, the skill, the honor he can pick up and set down as the moment requires. All of it. Almost all of it. What does Bronn want? Ask him and he will tell you plainly. a castle, a title, a rich wife, and in the end, Highgarden, the most beautiful seat in the realm, handed to him as payment for services rendered. And when he finally gets it, you feel nothing, not because Bronn does not deserve it, because he did not build it. It was handed over. It could have been any castle. It could have gone to any sufficiently useful man. The reward is real, and the reward is empty, because nothing connects Bronn to the place except the price that was paid for it. Highgarden is transactional, and a transactional thing is, by definition, replaceable. Now look at what Odysseus is clawing his way across the sea to get back to. Not a kingdom, a bed. When Odysseus built his house, he built the marriage bed with his own hands, and he built it around the living trunk of an olive tree, rooted in the ground. He carved the frame from the standing wood. The bed cannot be moved because the bed is part of the earth itself. It grew where it stands. Almost no one knows this, only Odysseus, his wife, and one old servant. It is the deepest secret of the household, so private that years later it is the single proof that the ragged stranger at the door is truly the king come home. That bed is what 20 years of cunning and endurance and refusal were for. That is the whole difference between the two men. Not skill, not cunning, not ruthlessness. They share every bit of that. Bronn is aimed at a prize that was handed to him. Odysseus is aimed at a thing that he made with his own hands, rooted in the ground, cannot be moved, cannot be replaced. One endpoint is payment, the other is architecture. And a man will cross 20 years of ocean for architecture. No one bleeds for a prize he could win again next season. For most of the journey home, Odysseus is not alone. He has a crew, men who followed him out of Troy, a unit, and there is one moment that tells you everything about how this man survives. Ahead lies the island of the Sirens, whose song is so beautiful that every sailor who hears it turns his ship towards the rocks to get closer, and dies there. Odysseus wants to hear it. Of course he does. The beast in him wants every experience, even the fatal ones. So he does not pretend to be stronger than he is. He does not trust his own willpower for a second. He knows, exactly, the kind of fool he is about to become. He has his men seal their ears with wax so they can hear nothing at all. And then he has them tie him to the mast. And he orders them, no matter how I scream, no matter how I beg, do not release me until we are past. The song comes. He screams to be let go. The ropes hold. Look closely at what just happened, because it is the entire philosophy in a single image. The ropes were his idea. The plan was his. The crew's job was purely mechanical. Row, do not listen, ignore the captain. The thing that actually saved Odysseus was not the crew. It was the architecture he built before the danger arrived, knowing, in advance, the precise shape of his own weakness. A genius is someone who knows exactly when he is going to be an idiot and prepares for it in advance. Do not ask how to become strong enough to resist the song. Ask how to build a better mast. Hold on to that, because the crew does not make it home. One by one the sea takes them. The Cyclops, the cannibals, the whirlpool, and at the last, when his starving men ignore his warnings and slaughter the forbidden cattle of the sun, the gods drown every one of them in a single storm. Every man Odysseus marched out of Troy with is dead. The unit is gone. The brotherhood that crossed an ocean, gone. And Odysseus keeps going, alone. He washes up with nothing. No ship, no men, no name that anyone there knows. And he rebuilds, and he leaves, and he survives, and he makes it home, on nothing but the architecture he carries inside himself. The mast already told you this was coming. The thing that saved him at the Sirens was never the crew. It was the structure he built himself. So when the crew is finally gone, The structure is still standing. It was the load-bearing thing all along. Odysseus is the man who lost his entire unit and made it home anyway, because the real architecture was never the unit. It was him. Here is the trouble. Odysseus could go home because home was still there. The world held its shape while he was gone. Ithaca did not move. The bed stayed rooted. His wife waited. The island, the household, the marriage, the kingdom, all of it held its form across 20 years, waiting to be returned to. That world is gone. We live now in a world where almost nothing holds its shape, where half of marriages end, where people meet through screens, and no one is quite who they claim to be, where the ground itself feels provisional. Careers, cities, bodies, beliefs, all of it revisable, all of it temporary. Nothing rooted, nothing that cannot be moved. The modern condition is the one thing Odysseus never had to face. There may be no home to return to at all, no Ithaca waiting, no rooted bed. So the question the old poem leaves us is even sharper than it was for him. He had to find his way back to a home that already existed. We have to do something harder. We have to build one from nothing in a world that has quietly demolished the conditions that used to build it for us. And here is the strange mercy hidden in the whole story. Odysseus's bed was rooted, but Odysseus rooted it. He cut it from living wood with his own hands. The one unmovable thing in his entire world was the thing he built. Which means the architecture was never really the bridge back to the home. The architecture was the thing that made the home. That is the part that still works. That is the part no modern wind can take, because it was never handed down by the world in the first place. It was built by hand, from the inside out. Odysseus spent 20 years fighting his way across the sea. He lost his ships. He lost his crew. He lost his name, his youth, every comfort he ever had. And he never once stopped, because there was a rooted thing at the end of it that he had built with his own hands, and he was going home to it. He had an Ithaca. Do you?